Hi, this is James from BJYGO. I've just got my third place Despia deck profile for you from Huddersfield Regional. I should have definitely, I feel that I should have definitely won this event, but on round 6 I decided to play like I've never played Yu-Gi-Oh before. So that didn't go very well in my favour, but the deck was insane. Didn't really brick, and I don't know, it's just been the deck that I've been on for literally the last like 2 years, so it's one of my favourite decks. So I'll get into it and I'll explain like my choices as we go through, and some of my theory behind the deck. It's a 54 card list. It always feels a bit weird going, like, once you start going over 40 and you start getting into the 50s, it's like, when do you justify going from sort of 50 cards? Once you start getting to like 54, it's like, well, why not just go to 60? It starts like adding in stuff like the day package and stuff like that, which is good, but I'm just not the biggest fan of it because it takes up extra deck space and the extra deck's really tight. So we'll just go through with the engines to begin with. So we've got triple Aluba, pretty much best normal summon in the deck, gets you to all your plays. So I don't see why you'd run any less than 3. I've got 3 Albaz, just because like grind game, if you draw too many of him, you can make your fusions dead, and you just want as many of these as possible to keep resolving your branded fusion. It's also really good going second card, and obviously you can summon out fusion deployment as well. I play 3 Albion because it's an upstart goblin and a foolish burial. It also turns like your Cartesias on, it makes all the cards live, and it's just such a good card to send off like Quem or Foolish Burial to get other plays going, and then you can obviously recycle it out for another card. I play 3 Cartesia. Cartesia feels like one of the best cards in the deck now. Basically in a format where there's lots of Veilers and Perms, anything like that, you want this to go through. You'll also see later on in the profile that I'm actually playing 2 Grangol. I just feel like Cartesia is too important not to play now, and with the Albions and fusion deployments, etc., it's so easy to get to it, and just always make sure your end board's stronger. And obviously it gives you infinite grind game because it's constantly adding back to the hand, and obviously pocket lock, stuff like that. I'm playing 2 Tragedy. This potentially could have gone up to 3 because I'm playing a Laws, etc. I feel like Tragedy is actually really good. And obviously when you're playing more cards, you need to bulk out some of the you need to bulk out the decks somehow, and this obviously just gets you to engine. It makes your Laws better. You can foolish it, you can gold sock it, and you can also use it with the polymerization, because I'm using the patchwork engine as well. And it's just, I feel like it's just strong in that regard. Again, it could have gone up to 3, but I couldn't find enough room to add it in without just adding more cards, and I didn't really want to go higher than where I was already at. And the final number for the deck being 54 was more me just wanting to keep adding good cards, and not actually thinking, oh, I want to play 54. It just so happened that I ended on that number. 1 Quem. Quem's really good. You only need it as a one-off because you've already got enough normal summons in the deck, and you can just keep recycling it with like the ad-libs and branded in red, etc. like that. Card's so good. It just adds that extra layer of interruption during your opponent's turn. It starts setup so it can search your branded fusion. It can make your Cartesias live after you've already normaled. It just sets everything up, and whatever you need in the graveyard at that time, you can just dump there, which is just crazy. I play 1 Mercuria. The monster negate's pretty sick, and you can banish it off Gold Sort to start your engine. There's also a combo that I'm playing in there because I'm playing the Glory Dragon. So game 1, I can send the Glory Dragon with Mirror Jade, use Adlib to bring Mirror Jade back, so I still have the Mirror Jade banished for their turn, and I also have this to stop any bells, bestials, anything like that. I'm stopping my puppet lock. Adlib is crazy because if you play this turn 1, you can recycle your Mirror Jade with like the polymerizations and stuff, and get an extra search out your Mirror Jade. And also during your opponent's turn, you can it basically gives you extra Mirror Jades on your opponent's turn, so you can recycle your Mirror Jade up to like 3-4 times with this and Quem. And that's really hard for anyone to play through if you can just keep banishing all that shit. I play the puppet. It's shit that you have to play it, but like obviously you can side it, and it's a bit weird because I didn't always go for the puppet lock. I think during the tournament I only puppet locked like maybe 2-3 times. The deck just pushes through boards, kills people, and then this is just like a contingency plan more than anything. My main plan isn't always to go for this. It's just in there as an option. I play 2 main deck Bestials. I feel like these are mandatory because this is your Albion send. That also, if you've got Cartesia, gets you to Lost and also gets you Search of Lost. Cards, you know, it's just good. You draw it, it's whatever. You send it, it's whatever. Siren is the best Bestial to use in this deck just because it's also an engine piece, because you can use this to bin any of your branded cards, and then you can use like Quem to send something else. You can use Big Albion to send whatever else you're missing, like Retribution, and you can just add it back from grave. So it's a way of playing around draw, and also just searches any card in your deck, well, any of your branded cards anyway. That's like the main sort of monster count, and main like sort of like branded and Despia bits. I'm also playing the Patchwork engine, which is 2, 2, and 2. This helps you break boards. It helps you play through Nibiru. It just adds so much, and I feel like because everyone's always on Droll, and I don't actually think Droll's very good at the moment. So if someone's playing Droll, it kind of sucks. Like, it can hurt. But it just gives you that extra bit of fuel just to keep pushing through. You can get nibbed and then you can carry on going through this. It helps. It makes your Chimera a bit harder to deal with. It lets you play like Magnum the Reliever, which is a crazy card. And you can play like Masquerade and stuff, so then obviously you have a sort of like inbuilt time card. I just think it just gives you extra gas, and I feel like it's too good not to play, and it's also the main reason why I'm at 54, because it gives you less chances of drawing these cards. Onto the spells, you've got 3 Brand Fusion. Don't really need to explain why this is at 3. You know, it's the main part of the deck. Everyone always says that when you Ash Brand Fusion, like, the deck just sort of folds. And yeah, there are some hands that happens in, but I think the majority of the time, like, if this gets ashed, as long as you've got access to Cartesia, Branded in Red, or Thrust, or Patchwork, you're absolutely fine. And then if this gets ashed and you have access to Thrush, you just Fusion Duplication and just Branded Fusion them on their turn, which is just, you know, it's basically doing what you were wanting to do anyway. It's just on their turn, and if you can get to Lost as well, it's crazy good. 3 opening, it gets you to all of your pieces. It's really good discarding Tragedy with this. If you open one of your normal summons, so say you open Aliber, you can just use this to get Quem, or you can use this to get Alubra if you've opened Quem. If you have Cartesia with this, obviously you can skip all the Imperms and Veilers, etc. And it's also really cool to chain to like your polys and stuff, so then you can get an Ablib out of the deck, add it to your hand, whatever, and then use that as the fusion material, like mid-chain. You can also use it to add to your hand, so you can actually go for tragedies. And then say you've got a law, you can add a tragedy to your hand, draw 2, and then also search whatever you need if you don't already have a normal summon in hand, which is pretty good, because obviously you get the 2 extra cards and then you get whatever you were searching off this anyway. I'm on 2 Branded in Red. This could even be 3, to be honest with you. The card is so good. I mean, there's plays that you can do to play around Ash that involve this, and because you've got Quem, you've got Triple Albion, you've got Foolish Burial, you can just keep sending stuff to the grave with this and use this as your main sort of like play enabler. Branded Lost, it's self-explanatory, card's insane, makes the deck so much stronger once it's gone through. Them not being able to respond to your stuff is crazy. And if you can resolve this while you have Sanctifier and Puppet Engrave, they can't respond to the Puppet. So if they were hoping to, you know, obviously like bell the Sanctifier or whatever, you can just use this to protect that, which is just so good. High Spirits is a weird one. I'm not playing the Fairy target, so I can't use it with Tragedy, but it's just an extra thing to send off Quem when you've already got everything else sent in your grave, and it's just an extra card to discard for you know, effects and what have you. It's probably cuttable, if I'm being brutally honest. It's opening this with Saranir gets you to Brand of Fusion straight away and a draw one, which is good. But outside of that, like, you can set up like other random bits. Like obviously you can get to anything that mentions Albaz, but it's only a one of it, a 50 odd card deck, so you're not going to see that often. But for me, I just felt it was decent enough to sort of play. You can bin it afterwards, and obviously if you open it, there's ways of playing free draw with it, so I think it's good in that regard. So that's all the branded spells. Other supporting spells are Fusion Deployment. This card's just so good. It makes you play 6 copies of Cartesia, which is really good. Going second, it can also get you to Fallen Varbaz as a sort of board breaker, which is, it's just crazy insane. So if you can somehow manage to get an Albaz engraved plus your Cartesia, and then go into this and then get your Albaz, you can force the like the super poly effect of Albaz, and then if you interrupt it, you can use Cartesia to then go into your Fallen Albaz plays anyway. So that's pretty good. Allure of Darkness. If I'm being brutally honest, I've never really been a fan of this card, but I've been watching a lot of DB Grinder, and he's been showing like Nightfall, and Nightfall was like explaining why it's like a semi-decent card. It gives you a bit of cycle. There's a couple of good banishes off it. Whenever I saw it, and I saw like the Mercuria or the Tragedy, it felt dirty, but it's just a bit of extra draw power. Going second, if you don't see your side cards, it's an extra chance to see something. I don't like Pot of Prosperity in this deck because the extra deck's so tight. I don't see why you'd ever want to get rid of any of the cards in your extra to just dig a couple down. So it's just another way to filter through your deck, and it's alright because obviously you can add patchwork and stuff, and banishing a patchwork is not great, but it's better than just not being able to play. 3 thrust, it's pretty self-explanatory. You get ashed and you set Fusion Duplication, which is good. And obviously you've got some really good power spells going second if you don't want Fusion Duplication, because you've got your Patchwork, which is crazy. You've got Talent, you've got Gold Sark, you've got Foolish, which all get you into your engine. You've also got Fusion, which is sort of like the main thing that you search going second. In my round 6, I played absolutely terribly, and game 3 he deltas my Patchwork, and I have Thrust, and I don't know why, but for some reason in my head, when you get hand trapped turn 1, no one ever has anything on board. So I end up setting a Daruma Cannon to try and survive, when all I had to do was just add Brand of Fusion to hand and then just play with what I had left, and he didn't have Ash, so it was a really stupid mistake, and to be honest with you, that's what made it so I came third. But I feel like if obviously I caught that, I'd have I think that I had a good chance of actually winning the next round as well. But unfortunately we made mistakes like that, and there's nothing you can do about it apart from pick them up and improve. Foolish Burial's good. It can send Saranir, it can send Tragedy, it can send the Pigeon, and if you've got a Bestial in hand, and then that gets you into your engine. It can also send Albion if you've got Quem, and that gets you to Brand of Fusion. Yeah, there's a couple of different things that it can do. It's really good because if you send the Albion, you can use Albion Engrave as Fallen of Arbaz for your Cartesia, etc. And then you can put the Albion back to then send spells and stuff. In this meta with like fire, it's really good to keep opening Engrave. So obviously you can bin Albion, do all your plays, then send opening. Because when they try and Princess, if you've got Mirror Jade, all you have to do is protect the Mirror Jade with the opening and then banish whatever they target and Princess doesn't summon. So that's pretty good. Got 1 Talents. Talents is whatever anyone tells you, do not play more than 1 Talents in this deck. It's shit. It's only good to grab a Thrust. You're only really ever hand ripping because by the time you've been hand trapped, unless it's a really niche scenario, they've already asked you Brand of Fusion. So drawing 2 doesn't always do anything, and stealing a monster is only good when you go in second to push for game, because you can't really do anything with the monster unless you're on like Patchwork, where you can steal a monster, push for damage, or then you can use their monster as a fusion material for some of the generic fusions that we play. But this card is actually not very good in branded, just because we're always locked into fusion, so unless you have a way to fuse off their monster, you're always hand ripping, and drawing 2 is generally it's too late for that effect. Called by the Grave just to stop Ash Blossom. Gold Sark is another way of getting into your engine, so you can banish the Pigeon, or you can banish Tragedy. to do both. Most of the time I think you really want to go for tragedy. I was doing pigeon quite a bit because I wanted like Cartesia, but then I didn't have lines to protect my gimmick puppet or to then search the pigeon later, and obviously it does come to your hand 2 turns later, but it doesn't always get to that point. So I think you should really only be banishing tragedy of this, but again, you can do the pigeon. This was meant to be with the branded spells and traps, but it's retribution. Obviously, it lets you add any branded spell or trap from grave back to hand if I banish it. It has some applications where you can search branded fusion with it without having to search directly if you don't have access to Alibi. And also, there's things that you can do where you can be a bit sneaky, where you can set up a Rindram, Fallen of Arbaz, no cards in hand, and then if your opponent's not paying attention, you can always chain this during your opponent's turn to give yourself a card in hand, so you can resolve Arbaz's effect that they didn't see coming. Most people see that coming though, but it's just an extra thing that you can do. And then the last card's Fusion Duplication. It's your main thrust target when you're going first. It lets you resolve branded fusion on your opponent's turn. It can be belled, it can be crowed. It doesn't have the initial protection from lost that like branded fusion and branded and red have. So obviously like branded and red, if it targets a card in grave and they bell it, it still resolves because it bell negates activations. And branded and red is a card that's attempted to fusion summon, whereas this is just banishing a card to copy the effect. So it's not actually performing a fusion summon, it's just performing whatever the card in graveyard is. And your main targets, you've got Poly, you've got Fusion Duplication because it can actually copy that, so you can special summon an Outlash from deck on their turn. Obviously branded Fusion. And it's, I don't know, it's a really good card, and I hope it actually gets a rarity upgrade in an OTS or something like that. We'll go on to Extra next. So Extra's not anything too special, but there's some things that are different. So obviously you play 2 Albion. Honestly, I wish I could play 3 of this because it's like the best fusion target and also one of the best sends. This is how you get Eulabellion in grave, and then you use Eulabellion later to tribute this to then get you search and then also get lost, which is just crazy good. And it's also your main extender through branded fusion. I played 2 Mirror Jade. I think you probably get away with playing 1. But I don't feel confident in that yet, so I just play 2, especially when it gets put in the back row when you're against Vikings. Well, Snake Eye really. That is a bit of an issue with this card because obviously once it's put in the back row, it's not a monster anymore, but it is still a spell or trap that is called Mirror Jade the Iceblade Dragon, so you can't summon another one while this is in the back row. One card that you can actually play to alleviate that a little bit if you struggle to get stuff out your back row is Sprin the Iron Dash Dragon. It's a really good card to then just blow it up, and then you can go on to summon another one. I'm also playing 1 Lubellion. Lubellion's crazy good. You only need 1 of it because most of the time it's going to be protected by Lost. It's very rare that you are going to get Veiled or Impermed on this because you should always have Lost up when you summon it. It recycles your extra deck. And I really wanted to play Albalinitis because Albalinitis can reset basically your entire extra deck. So it's a good way of like getting yourself back into the grind game, but this card's just so good for recycling everything. This is an A for the Puppet Lock, and it also plays around like Lightning Storm and Evenly Matched, which this deck can struggle with because we have all this monster interaction, but we don't really have too much spell and trap interaction. Titaniclad is a card that is really good because we can summon Quem in the end phase, and we can also use it to beat over big monsters. The biggest we can make it is, I think it's Chimera plus Albaz, so it's only actually 38. But obviously if you play stuff like Nibiru, you can get it a bit higher than that, which is obviously quite it's quite good. It also can summon Albaz in the end to fuse. Rindrum is just an option, so you can summon your you barely ever actually summon this, but you can summon your Fallen of Albaz from grave with it. And there is some plays where you can summon this and then use your Mirror Jade and then negate your Mirror Jade, and then have Mirror Jade live for their turn. I'm playing Brigand because with Adlib or Quem, you can use your Mirror Jade to banish something, and then you can fuse off and then bring it back, and then add this in the end phase to protect your Gimmick Puppet from like a monster effect. It's also got a fairly decent on-field ability. Basically, this can't be destroyed by battle, and your opponent can't target other monsters you control with monster effects, I think. Yeah, monster effects. So it's okay. So you can play around. It can kind of play around Princess, I guess, but it's alright. And then basically the non-Arbas fusions are two Granganol. I played two because of the amount of Carteses I'm playing, and this card, sometimes you feel like you need the second one. The card's just actually insane. It's just so good. It like bins any of your big engine pieces. So it can bin your Adlib, it can bin your Nightmare, it can bin your Bestials, and then it can bin obviously extra monsters as well. And then obviously when it tags out, it can tag out into either Quem or Queritus. I wasn't playing Proskinion. Proskinion is another option if you play Branded Banishment or Super Folly. That's really good to play because obviously in the mirror you can just summon your Despia and then fuse away your opponent's board into something big and then steal their Mirror Jades, which is quite cool, but the extra is really tight. But this card's so good, and I feel like 2 is probably the correct number now. Queritus is here because it's the target off this, and it's also another decent target just to fuse with your Despia cards as well. It's really good. Obviously it makes everything that's a non-fusion go down to 0, and then when it gets removed from the field by your opponent's card effect while it's face up and you control it, you can special summon a 4/1 of Arbas or a Despia from your deck, which is, you know, it's just really sticky. It can be kind of hard to out. I play Masquerade as a sort of like a time card, and also it's just like when you've got Poly and you've got a Tragedy, it's another way to get into your engine. It just adds that little extra bit of pressure, because I think if this is just on board, it's 13 effects that your opponent can use, which it doesn't. It sounds like it's a lot, but when you realise how many activations like people are actually going through to get to this, you can burn them for a fair chunk of damage, and it just makes it easier to kill them. And then obviously it revives a little bit as well. And then my 2 big fusions are on engine. I've got Magnum the Reliever, really good with polymerization. It is just you can put the polys back, you can put the fusions back, you can put fusion deployment back, and draw a card during your main, which obviously recycles a bit of engine and also draws a card, which is crazy. And then obviously when you chain it to any card effect, you can banish one of your fusion cards from grave to pop a card. And I think it also includes your own effects, so like you can do stuff like on summon Mirror Jade effect, and then you can chain this and you can pop a card, banish a card, which is really good. It's also 2800, so it's pretty big, pretty beefy. And then Chimera is the other one. It's pretty self-explanatory. With polymerization, obviously it becomes untargetable, which makes it slightly harder to deal with. And when you're using this under loss, it feels so unfair. So you like go Brandon in red on, let's say, like an ad libitum, fusing off with a used Mirror Jade, and you summon this, and it's just like, right, okay, so I'll go like chain link 1, draw 2, pop 1, or draw 1, pop 2. Lost search a card, I'd limit something about the Mirror Jade. Like, you just get so much advantage of resolving one card, it's crazy. And this card's just insane for that. Side deck, we've gone for 3 different Bestials. This is just for Voiceless Voice, and they're actually really good against Snake Eye as well. I chose to do another Saronera over a second Druiswim, because Druiswim in this deck's really weird, because like getting rid of it off the board, you can only really get rid of it with your fusion spells or tributing over it, which is a bit sus, but the extra Saronera comes in handy because obviously it means that you can get into your engine with it. So I think that this is better than the second Druiswim. Magnum is just obviously the best one. I played 2 Pankratops just because it's a good all-round removal tool. It plays around anti-spell. It's usually a 2-for-1 because you can beat over something and then use it to pop something else. It's just a really good card, and I hope it comes back to 3 because it's one of my favourite side deck cards. I played Duster and 2 Lightning Storms just for back row hate and just mass destruction, because the deck can push through so much and it just feels unfair resolving this and then pushing through a board as well. I'm on 3 Dark Ruler because against the pure Snake Eye, I find that if they set up the negates, this is the best way to break through it. And it's just good against, like, you know, shifter decks if you play against Kashtira or anything like that. I don't like the idea of not being able to do any damage, but it's like it would either be this or evenly matched, and then you have to go your battle phase with evenly matched, so you lose a bit of the the synergy with like Pankratops or something like that. So in my mind, it's like I'd rather get rid of the negates, and even if I can't kill them, then I can just pop it lock them anyway, but use the battle phase as an extra form of removal. I'm playing 3 summon limits just because it's summon limit. It's ridiculous. It shouldn't be able to play it. But sometimes your puppet gets interrupted. And just having a bit of extra back row is just crazy, because obviously they start trying to push into your board, and then if you summon limit them on top of what you're already doing, you've already established enough board presence that you just kill them. So it's just an extra layer of interaction that's not the monster interactions. And I guess people don't always see it coming in this deck, because obviously people are just going to focus on gimmick puppeting and stuff, but I don't know, I just found that this was a bit more useful than that. And the last card was Daruma Cannon as another thrust target for shifter decks. So you get shifted, you set this, and then you stop them from killing you, and then you get to play on the next turn. I've just realised as well that my main deck was actually not full, because I decided to play Sword Soul at locals. So the other card that I was missing from my main deck, it's probably 51, I think. Let me just double check, make sure I'm not missing anything else. This is the best bit about not editing videos, because you just don't, you get to see everything raw, I guess. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, so it was a 51 card main. So the other 3 cards that were in the main deck was Triple Droplet. Droplet's just insane for board breaking. It gets stuff engraved, so like going second, you can discard your Patchworks. I guess you can also discard Tragedy for its graveyard effect. And just helps you break through a couple of boards, and it's also really good just as an extra layer of interruption on your board to stop them from killing you. I just find it was a good board breaker, a good going first card, and people don't really expect it. Voiceless Voice pretty much is a buy, but this just trivializes it even further, because it feels insane when you when they set up a bunch of back row and then you harpies them, and then they go to negate, and then you chain this to get rid of the harpies or whatever to then stop the negate and then kill them. But it's just another good card to you know, just kill people or have an extra bit of interaction. So yeah, that was meant to be in the main, but unfortunately when I went to locals I decided to play Sword Soul, and I had it in that deck and forgot to put it back in. But yeah, that's everything. Came third. Definitely feel that I should have won if I played correctly. Like, it wasn't the deck that let me down, it was literally just me. Sometimes it happens, you know, you get two in the game and you just don't actually concentrate as much as you should do, and you sort of make mistakes. My round 6 was honestly embarrassing. It's on the channel. The only thing that the only game that I didn't get to record was my last game, but I ended up winning that out against I think it was like a Romage, Rika Plants, and basically it was a horrendous game, so I'm glad I didn't record it actually. But at the end it was like we had a time extension, and also went like 50 minutes extra into time, and all game 3 was me trying to rush through a turn, put as much interaction on the board as possible, and then a masquerade. And then it was a very weird interaction that they have to be up on life points, and they just kept burning themselves down, and eventually they just gave up. So it is what it is. But yeah, that round 6 was just embarrassing, and I might even like do a commentary over the top of it to speak about it further, to talk about what I was thinking and the mistakes that I made. But yeah, this is the profile. I don't know, obviously, if it gets hit on the next ban list or whatever. I don't know what I'll be playing for Nats, but I feel like this is probably what I'll be on for Nats, just because it's the deck I'm most comfortable with. But yeah, thank you for watching the profile, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.